Sactown Sports 1140. Here are the Drive Guys.
I think there was a lesson last night for sports fans, Jay. Happy Friday, by the way. The lesson is watch the whole game. Don't give up on the game because I don't know about this team or that team. Both those games last night, talking, of course, about Thursday Night Football and the Kings game, tumbling into overtime. Was unlikely they ever got to that point. Very thrilling and I know heartbreaking for Kings fans. I don't know if there's any more heartbreaking loss than when, not that you think you are going to win, but when you think you did win. When Avdia shoots no good and the Kings are celebrating and I'm looking at the screen, wow, they won the game. Nope. Late whistle. Kings, of course, with the controversial foul call, they lose that game. But both those games, Jay, tremendous games that I would bet you a lot of people tuned out of thinking, nah, this one's over.
I'd say for sure the Kings game would be interesting. You know, football, for whatever reason, just feels like people just can't turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it's the only game of the day, right? So, I don't know. But I'm with you. I could see it.
Yeah. I only had the one TV, and, you know, with the Amazon, it's hard to go back and forth.
Right,
so I was watching the football game, such a great game. And then I started watching the basketball game primarily, but I was keeping track of the football game. But when the Seahawks are down 16 and then Darnold throws an interception near his own goal line, I did think, well, there's no way they come back from this. And they did. Incredible. And the 2-point conversion, I guess that was educated correctly, but I know Sean McVay said he's never seen anything like it. A lot of people are saying that because it's true. I don't know about you, Jay. I have never seen that, where it's incomplete and then they're going to kick off and, oh, by the way, that was a 2-point conversion. It's good on review.
Just stop the whole action. Yeah. You know what I figured today was going to be is we're going to take phone calls and people are going to complain about the referees. And it's kind of like that obligatory time of the season where referees and J.B. Bickerstaff went crazy. Ime Udoka was going bananas on the referees. And you're starting to see – I saw head coach of Louisiana basketball. He went bonkers if you haven't seen it on referees.
Steve Kerr was very upset last night with a very late call.
Like, we've kind of got to that point, and then Eric Lewis, former NBA official, who is, well, not former, he is an NBA official. They're reinstating him into the G League. Like, now we're kind of getting to that obligatory referee. Yeah, they're bad of the season in NFL and NBA, and it's just kind of like culminating all together. I figure we're going to talk about it. They've been bad, truly. Yeah. It truly have. And every now and then, which is probably more current, I mean, like, it probably happens more nowadays. Like, every week there's an issue. Every week somebody's got a problem with the referee, football, baseball, basketball, umpires, whatever. There's always issues. So I know we're going to talk about it, but whatever we need to do in the future to make it better, let's start it now.
Well, here's an interesting angle in all that. I can't remember where I read this first. It might have been Pro Football Talk. Might have been Mike Florio. But, you know, there was a couple years ago. Over the last couple of years, there have been a ton of controversial NFL calls.
Tons.
And someone came up with the theory, the league I don't think actually would ever admit this, but there's a theory that, you know what, especially in football, it's actually good for the league. Because, we all complain about it, but everyone talks about it. What's everyone talking about? They're talking about the game last night and the officiating. So, they make tweaks here and there, and the coaches complain. But in a way, it draws attention to the games, and it's good PR for the league just because everyone's talking about the games. I'm not sure I agree with that, but it is interesting. In the case of the Kings last night, just my reaction, just human gut reaction, was when Mark Davis made that call, Jay. One of the reasons he made it is because Westbrook had been riding him all night. Westbrook had kind of been showing him up, and that's what all players do that now. And I'm just wondering if you're Mark Davis and you see that play and Westbrook has just been, just in your grill all night. That's a BS call. I'll tell you what, I think the way you've been treating me, that's a foul.
Human nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But and then the NFL, the 2-point conversion, when you look at it, they actually, by rule, they got that right.
Mm-hmm.
It was just they did so in absolutely bizarre fashion.
Took too long.
But ultimately, it's like, oh, yeah, that is what happened. They're right.
You know what's interesting with football, and really for basketball, you know, we talk about replay, you know, challenges, and you see it a lot when it comes to the NBA. You know, for whatever reason, I feel like it's talked about a little more with, oh, it takes forever. It just takes forever. And I agree. More times than not, it does. I find it so interesting. And I know there, you know, Secaucus and NFL, the officials up in New York, they're looking at different views. They're looking at, you know, probably 36 different versions of a play. But it feels like when we see 5, 6, 7 different views or, you know, different perceptions on the television through Fox and CBS and now Amazon and all these other different streaming and channel programming we have, it feels like you can make a determination pretty quick. And yeah, sometimes you have to slow stuff down and, you know, really dive into it, zoom in, put it under a microscope. But the whole, and this is, I guess I put that to preface it this, the whole referee, umpire, officiating in all sports just feels like it's at an all-time low. It really does. And I've felt this way for the last couple of years, and I would probably imagine there's a good majority of people, good percentage of people throughout the world who feel the same.
I agree with you.
It just feels like we're at an all-time low, and you throw in the challenges and the reviews and getting wrong and then the 2-minute warning and, the 2-minute review, and there's just so many aspects of officiating that just is thrown off nowadays.
When this trend started, in my view, a few years ago, one of my theories was officials are choking because there's so much pressure on them now. Before, not every game was on TV, and now, you know, not only every game is on TV somewhere or it's streamed, but every call is magnified and it's on social media. And if you make a bad call, you know, that's why it's funny to me. Puka Nacua a couple days ago said, the officials make these calls because they want to be on TV. I don't think so, Puka. Nobody wants to be the guy who makes the terrible call.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it affects them. That pressure, I think, affects the officials and the umpire sometimes. Or maybe they're just bad.
Could be. You know, I know friend of the show, Mike Pereira, talks about the training of NFL officials and how part of what you're talking about is, you know, being a part of the game and being relaxed. I've heard him say that. You know, I've worked with Mike going all the way back to Fox on NFL on Sundays, and, you know, he would call in every show on the radio, and that was part of our gig. And so many things that he talked about, I would always just sit back in the chair and say, you're right.
That's interesting.
You're absolutely right. But it took him maybe to retire, maybe because of experience, maybe because he was at that time, you know, he was retired and an ultimate veteran of the game, and maybe he sees it different than we do. But I always sat back and realized, like, this was someone that was in the game for a long time who is now not critiquing the officials, because he's all about helping the officials, being better. But he used to talk about the pressures, social network, you know, and this was one of the other things he pinpointed quite a bit. There's so much money riding on the line, and you never know how much, you know, you're going to detour somebody's pockets. Casinos, there's so many, you know, entities that eat off different sports and games and competitions. You just never know.
Yeah. Some of the calls lately, and when I say lately, I mean the last couple of years in all the major sports, have been so bad that it just does make me wonder, okay, what's going on here? So I buy that. Now, what you're saying there about Mike Pereira reminds me of what I've heard from, I have a friend, Bill Simmons, used to be a NBA referee, and one of the things he would say, and all referees say that is, you know, you can call by the letter of the law, or you can just call by the spirit of the game, which is there an advantage gained? No, then you don't need to call it. If somebody does something, technically it's a violation, but there's no advantage gained, then the flow of the game is better if you just don't call anything. There's almost no point to it. And that's, to me, what we need to look at when we look at that call, the Deni Avdija foul on Russell Westbrook last night. Deni Avdija got off a decent shot and missed the rim. Was there any advantage gained by the contact? We've all seen much more egregious contact that was just allowed and no whistle called on it than what we saw last night.
Whitey, I've bumped into you
You
in
have.
the hallways
You have.
rougher than the Kings put hands on Denny Advia.
Yeah.
Like, that was ridiculous.
But I do think, and I'm watching for it here, I don't believe the last 2-minute report is out yet.
I haven't seen it.
I would bet, I was saying with Alan, I think that it's going to come out and say correct call.
Of course.
Contact made with Avdia's left arm. So there was contact there. But was it, incidental contact? Was it marginal contact? Yeah. So that's unfortunate they made that call. And I know Kings fans feel, you know this, Jay. Kings fans feel like it's always the Kings and we're always mistreated. And
sure,
historically you can make a strong case that there's something to do that. I just can't imagine that the officials in a Portland-Sacramento game are really going to be that far against the Kings that, we're going to give this one to Portland. I think if anything, maybe the official was upset with Russ a little bit. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was just a bad call. It was made from halfway across the floor, too.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on the form of it was just a bad call. But I also, and I brought up the Mike Pereira situation, these people are humans, right? So bad calls are going to happen, make mistakes, hence why we have review and challenges. The other part of it, too, though, and I don't want to go down this road 1,000%, because like I said, I know we're going to have this conversation. I'm just a firm believer. My life has taught me that when money is on the line, people move. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not sitting up here talking about the games are rigged and all that type of stuff. But I am also saying this. This is just my opinion, but if you don't believe that referees, officials, umpires have been approached, if you don't believe it has happened, then you're fooling yourself. So the NBA, the NFL, MLB, they have to have the officials back. That's why part of the reason I truly believe is you get teed up or, there's a flag, personal conduct, like all these different things. You get tossed out of a baseball game, red carded in soccer, whatever you want to call it. They have to basically say there's no tolerance of kickback towards officials, because if so, then we all can start to question so many different aspects of who they are, what they're doing, and their play within the competition.
And the integrity of the
game.
And
the integrity of the game.
Starts to crumble and
absolutely
crack. And if you don't have that, it's all gone.
It busts open the door, right? And so that's why in the NBA where it's like, oh, man, Draymond and Rasheed Wallace and guys like that, Russell Westbrook is one of those guys, right? Dylan Brooks, Dennis Rodman, Charles Oakley, the list goes on. But there are DeMarcus Cousins. How about that? Mm-hmm. There are times where it's like, man, it just feels funny, Whitey. It truly does. It truly does. And I'm not politicking and saying, like you said, Portland and Kings game, it don't mean that much in the grand scheme of things. But you just never know, man.
Yeah.
You never know. I don't put one thing in my life, in my 40 years, I don't put nothing past nobody when we're talking about money.
40 years, you're just a pup, by the way. 707.
41.
This was actually in our favor. We want to keep losing. Ahmed Rock points out Russ and Debo got technical fouls. Those 2 points were costly. Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
From the 916, Avdia wasn't even looking for a foul call after he missed. That's another great point.
Very true.
He took the shot, he missed, and he's like, we lost.
It's over.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You got to give him some love. He went up there and smacked the 2 free throws.
He did. You mentioned a couple of things that are really interesting here. You mentioned, the officials are human, and, in baseball especially, they're starting to see what they can do about that. And next year we'll have the automatic ball strikes. So, we'll get closer to robot umpires.
Technology, huh?
Yeah. And then as far as disclosure and transparency, that's why the NBA has the 2-minute report, because it's, and it doesn't work.
It's fugazi, man.
The idea is they're trying to show, coaches hate it.
Yep.
Nobody likes it. But I think for the NBA, it was an attempt to try to show people, look, we're on the level. We know some of these calls aren't great, and we're going to tell you which ones were right and which ones weren't. I don't think it's worked, and now they're to the point where, as bad as it is, just think if they stopped doing it, then people would really go, oh, see that? Now I know it's fixed. So they really don't have an option. I just don't think it makes anybody feel any better about anything, and I think that's the boat we're all going to be in when last night's 2-minute report comes out.
Yeah.
Correct call.
I don't
Contact made.
I can't remember the last time I've even truly looked at a 2-minute report. Because to me, it's just Band-Aids over the wound, and the NBA is just saying, look, we're all, more times than not, even when they say, okay, this call was wrong, what does it matter? You're not going back to change the result. What? We know people make mistakes. So you're just magnifying the fact that they made a mistake, or you're just saying, oh, yeah, he made a mistake and we're just going to move on. Like, there's no real reason for the 2-minute report. It's the dumbest thing ever.
It is dumb.
It truly is.
I do, and I am interested to see this one. I want to see if I'm right. You're right. They're not going to change anything, and I don't get emotional about it. I'm just curious to see how is the league going to explain this one. So I think this is going to be disappointing for Kings fans. Not as disappointing